Alright, hey guys! That was my intro. Welcome to my podcast. This is my podcast. Not his. This is my podcast. My podcast. Good time, whatever you're like, I don't know, tuning in or something, you're listening to me. We're not gonna play any music, it's just gonna be me. This is my nation. I'm going to be talking about my narrative because I was forced to do an assignment on this, so that's why this is happening. So if you guys expect me to have any format for this, no, it's not happening. I have this. I have that. That's it. That's all what's happening. I don't care about anything else. So, to start, let's go over fame.
Why did that just happen?
Yeah. Anyways, to start, let's go over fame. So I used to want to be famous as a kid. I used to be wanting to be a YouTuber, and at the start it was Minecraft. At the end of it, it's this. That was my astronaut, you know? That was my police officer, that was my firefighter. Yeah. I wanted to be a famous person doing videos, and that was it. Why? Because I grew up with YouTube. No rules, no regulation. I was just growing up on the internet, and I was forced to become what I was. So basically, I am the patient in the ward, and I'm stumbling around on the internet as a child. I don't think, personally, that internet should change and fame should change from what's happening. What? Famous people have to stay. Famous people have to stay, because if they don't stay, I will have a mental breakdown. The only people that I associate with myself is parasocial relationships, and I watch people. If they leave me, I'm going to not be okay.
Famous people are definitely important. I mean, nowadays it's kind of...
You would know.
I forgot them, I didn't want to get up.
What are we doing? Talking about... Yep, just read it. Just read it the second time, you know? Just make sure that that's something...
Stock image of gay pride flag.
I can read your mind. I know exactly what you're thinking about right now. What the fuck does this have to do with me being gay? And good question, Brandon, because this has to do with me being gay because I'm gonna force it to be me being gay. And I'm gonna force it about being me. No.
Are you recording?
Yes, we're recording. Go sit down. It's okay. I can wait. Right, so, the connection between being famous and being LGBTQ, wait, there's an I in there now. The studio? Yeah, is that official? So with the discrimination that people are receiving from being gay and famous, we see it popping up newly, actually, because really being gay hasn't been this famous and popular until like recently. We've seen like a massive uprising of it so far, so it's been quite the topic recently. Lil Nas X, I love him, but like I haven't heard anything about him in a long time. You know of Lil Nas X,
Yeah,
right?
I do.
So where did he go? Is my question, and my answer to that is that a lot of the gay people that were currently famous immediately got canceled. Like, not saying that's a bad thing, because these people probably did indeed deserve it. I didn't go in a deep dive for this. James Charles, Jeffree Star, Shane Dawson, those like trio for whenever I was growing up, like were like, well, gay, but like they all grew up and they all like got canceled, and for good reason. But it showed this light off of like queer people that whenever we become famous, there must be some type of bad thing that happens for us to get canceled, and if that doesn't happen, they fade away. Lil Nas X is exactly that example, because they took off of like what, that like he was putting like blood in Adidas shoes and it was satanic or something. I don't know, that's what I heard in school, but that's the whole thing. People were trying to desperately cancel him because that's the only way that they thought that he could get famous. And now that he can't be canceled because he's, I don't know, a good person. Lil Nas X has basically faded. This isn't about him. This is about gay and fam. But it's a very good point because no one's talking about him, and I love his music currently, but no one is talking about him.
Yeah, you're so right. I actually haven't heard of Lil Nas X in a long time.
Unless he wanted that to happen, then I mean, oops. Besides that, I've noticed more like LGBT, like people just like popping up. Chaplin Roan, she's making headway currently and is like in becoming famous. She is famous. There's like no question about it. We're already seeing like the online social media being really nitpicky towards her whenever she's just started her famous career, and yet straight people can go without like any conflict in like fame. Usually I tend to see that famous people that are straight and cis and are conformed, their like social and fame really just like escalates and doesn't seem to de-escalate. Although we are starting to see a little bit more of like those famous people be also nitpicked, but I tend to see it in like our community that it is very extreme. Right?
I think you're doing an amazing job explaining this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, actually.
Your podcast is beautiful.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been a great time.
Yeah, this is really good.
Great time.
I'm really having a good time with this.
Me too. We're
It's
having a lot of fun.
Actually, amazing.
Yeah.
So lastly, I want to get to how this connects to me. Hello, personal narrative, personal, right in the title. Personal in the assignment title. This connects to me because, again, you can't see it. Again, I wanted to be famous. It's basically ruined that ideology for me, for me being famous and for me being part of my community, the queer community. I'm scared to become famous and then have to re-out myself and then have this huge downfall of being canceled because someone found me, like, I don't know, posing or something in a place and they hate that place. It's not just me, it's a lot of people. Here's one that's not in my notes. Take Billie Eilish. She was basically outed, even though it wasn't really, like, her videos were starting to lean more into, like, queer culture. But she never said anything and never verbally came out because there's, like, that deep-rooted thing that she has to, and yet really Billie shouldn't have to, and yet she was forced to because of everyone saying that she was queer baiting, which can't happen if you are queer. And fame just starts to be a very toxic environment for queer people. And it causes this fear, especially for people that want to become it. Take someone who's close to me, my boyfriend. He wants to be YouTube famous on the internet, and he is very scared to come out, which is why I'm not even gonna say his name. Like, coming out again online could honestly ruin his career, because of like how toxic the internet actually is. And so there's always just this fear that the queer community will always have for being famous. Which is funny because being famous is how we speak out in the first place, and is how a lot of us gained like attention and gained our rights, is from people like speaking out and being, well, famous for speaking out.
Do you think it is easier or harder for someone to become famous in your community? I need a drink.
Yes and no, because queer people probably don't want to be famous if they're gonna get a bunch of backlash for it.
I just find we see all those like one-hit wonders where people get famous off these little shorts and things like that.
Hook Girl?
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to, and like I feel like I don't ever see those one-hit wonders in the gay community. Like,
no, we don't. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. People are just realizing that it's a human thing, and so people are gravitating towards it. It's also younger people, because younger people are finding themselves still, so they will gravitate to queer culture because that allows them to find themselves better.
Great.
That was your question, and that's time. And anything from the studio? No, we're all silent. I want him to play that as an outro. Actually, if you could cut me off mid-sentence, that would